Welcome, guys, to the MMOs.com podcast, episode 119, 1 week late, but we're back. I'm joined this week by
Homer.
There it is.
And we're going to try something a little bit different this week. So we're going to be opening up our weekly raids as well as some other discussions to the audience. So if you're joining us live on twitch.tv/MMOs.com and you want to participate in our discussion, just hop into our Discord channel and wait in the lobby chat. And from there, we will drag you in when time is appropriate. But it should make it a bit more lively. And we encourage anyone who has dissenting opinions or just strong opinions to share it with us. And it should be pretty cool. It might create a fun discussion. But anyway, we'll take it with the weekly raid as usual. And I will throw that in your capable, very capable hands.
All right, so this week I was inspired by EVE Online. The title is MMOs in 2017. No Country for Toxic Men. And what inspired me was a certain event in EVE. Big political drama. One of the biggest alliances was racked by an internal betrayal. So a top lieutenant with access to the alliance banks and all this basically stole everything. Okay, he stole $1 trillion of ISK, which if you go to those sites you can buy ISK at, you can maybe do the translation. And he stole the capital Citadel HQ of the Alliance, okay? So the Alliance got destroyed, yada yada. Now, this is no big deal. This shit like this happens all the time in those big battles and all this stuff. But what followed was a chat log by the Alliance leader talking about the lieutenant who betrayed him. I don't know if you guys can see it here, but basically he said this: whoever know his real name, home address, and other details, message me. The judge, which is the guy's name who betrayed him, feel free to use your hands by typing here while you can. Okay?
That's a very ominous, interesting threat.
And of course, he was banned. Okay? He was banned by CCP. But it's interesting. By the way, this is obviously a real life threat, so it's obviously against the rules, right? But some people are claiming a similar incident in 2012 only led to a temp ban. Okay? And look, you gotta tell this guy, you gotta sympathize with him a little, because he just got everything taken from him that he spent probably years building, right? So if this was just a moment of frustration, I don't know. Do you give him a pass? Or if it was a continuous, I don't know. How do you feel about this?
I think the fact that you told me before, there was an example where somebody did a threat in EVE Online in the past, and they got a suspension, kind of almost sets a precedent for it. But obviously the rules are ever changing. It's CCP can set their own rules. Though I think after an event like this, right? And obviously I don't know if we have the full chat logs, but I think you get a pass. Okay, I don't think either of us condone real life threats. Okay, like when we talk about toxicity and shit talking and all that good stuff, right? Usually it's words and just slinging bullshit on the internet, right? But anytime you kind of threaten to get someone's address or imply they're gonna lose their hands or something, which is again very weird. But anytime you do stuff like that, it does cross the boundaries. But I sympathize with the guy because he clearly lost thousands of real life dollars worth of items in game by getting betrayed. I say you give him a pass because unless he shows routine behavior like this, I don't think a guy lashing out like this, he means it. And you give the guy a suspension, obviously. I mean, even though you got scammed in a pretty hardcore way, I don't think it warrants banning. But again, you don't want to normalize any kind of real life threats either. I think you do take these on a case by case basis. Maybe if this guy just randomly threatens some dude, like we're gonna cut this guy's hands off. Like there's no context there. He just does it. He's a toxic person, maybe. In that case, I think maybe ban might be more appropriate. In this case, I say you let him go.
Okay. More important than this case, though. Okay, because if one guy, who cares? I think and the way I worded it in the weekly raid is, I think this marks the passing of an era in online gaming. And here's why. Like I said, in 2012, a very similar situation led to a temp ban. So the severity of punishment has been going up, okay? And it's not it's not just in EVE. I feel like across gaming and across the internet in general, not just gaming, but anyway, YouTube and stuff, the room for freedom has really been shrinking. All right? Toxicity, the room for toxicity, or however it's defined, has been shrinking. The punishments are getting worse. I like how you use the word
freedom. The room for freedom on the internet is shrinking. You make it sound like it's some noble cause. All right, continue.
As someone who lived through it, and I was saying in the article, Omar and I started gaming online with things like StarCraft, Brood War. Even before we actually played before Brood War, Counter-Strike 1.5, Ultima Online. And in these games, if somebody told me during my StarCraft 1 days, right? If someone told me, hey, Blizzard, which makes StarCraft 1, is going to be banning people for using the N-word in game, or whatever, faggot or something. I don't know if I can say that actually, but they're going to
say, I give you permission.
People are going to be banned for this, okay? In a lobby game where you can just leave or mute the guy, right? I wouldn't have believed you. I would have bet everything that that would never have happened. That is not the timeline that we would have went down, okay? But we are in that timeline, you know. We can talk about it a little later, but in Overwatch, you know, player toxicity is a huge deal. They're banning lots of people. They're trying to make new systems to make it easier to ban, you know, people who break the rules. So this is obviously a big trend across gaming. You know, Blizzard, CCP, Riot Games bans people for leaving matches in League of Legends, right?
Yes, but I think you should differentiate the two arguments here, because you're saying that there's less room and less freedom for toxicity and insulting people and stuff like that on the internet and in these games they get banned for it, and also the mechanics of leaving a game. Because when you're talking just being toxic and just shit talking and maybe dropping N-bombs, you know, being a dick, I think that's quite a distinction from actually doing a mechanical thing by leaving the game and potentially ruining it for other people. So I don't think they're the same, but
hold up.
Personally,
Omar makes this distinction, but I feel if you're intentionally feeding or like throwing, that's toxic too, to the same degree as insulting, because you can. Omar, you see, if I have your argument right, you don't mind the swearing and racial slurs,
no.
Because the other player can be blocked, right, or muted.
Yes, exactly.
Well, if someone is throwing a game or feeding or whatever, you know what you can do? You can close the game and walk away. You know, like, so there's
a consequence to doing so. If me blocking somebody or me muting somebody or blacklisting somebody in whether it's League, whether it's Final Fantasy 14, whether it's WoW, MMORPGs have these features as well. It's a no consequence to me, really. I just don't see their words anymore. I can keep playing the game. So, you know, that there is a distinction there. If I leave the game, I'm essentially I lose. I lose a game. You know, I fail the mission. You know, if let's say I'm running even a dungeon in WoW or Final Fantasy 14, if I leave, you know, I just wasted my time. I lost my progress. It's different if they're just swearing or being dicks, because you can fix that at no consequence to yourself. And I think people do need a bit more thick skin when it comes to that.
Well, I know. Here's the thing: main difference between us. I don't see much of a distinction. I think the person who claims that, you know, people should be banned for abuse or racism, they say stuff like, "Listen, if I see this in a game, it ruins my day. Like, I feel like shit for the rest of the day. I become more toxic because I gotta type back to them now. I'm like, you know, so it puts me in a mindset where I'm tilted. Equally, the same mental state as if when someone is feeding or something. I'm in that tilted state either way. So the mechanics might be different, but the result is the same tilted, angry.
But they have an option. They had in their hands, in the palm of their hands, to instantly fix this problem, and it's called the magical mute feature, which is people use this in MMORPGs all the time. I've muted people in Final Fantasy 14. I've muted people in WoW, and I'm sure many of you guys have as well. It works really well, but for some reason, and I don't think toxicity and this, you know, being mean was ever an issue in MMORPGs, because people always had the mute option and they always used it. It becomes an issue in games like Overwatch and League and Dota, these lobby-based games, which is weird because, you know, you as you were saying, those are like compartmentalized experiences where you have one game and you leave, and then, you know, you move on. Whereas WoW and FF14 and all these other games are in persistent universes, but it's never. I don't think it was ever really an issue, or rather, ever a big issue the way it is in MOBAs and you know, in shooters.
Okay.
Use the tools the game gives you.
Okay.
To address it.
Hold up. So Omar, I was saying earlier, we played StarCraft, we played Counter-Strike, you know, before Steam, and we left games. You know, if I did bad in a game of Counter-Strike, I would leave. You know, if I felt like playing something else, I'd leave. I never thought twice about it. But it seems like today I can't leave a game, or else like I can risk a ban. Oh, but and League does this a lot more than Dota, for example. Like in Dota 2, you can pretty much swear all you want. You can leave games. You can throw games. There's very little punishment. Okay, and I know this as someone who's played like thousands of games of Dota 2, and I've left when I get mad or whatever. So I never got banned, and you've always told me I would get banned in League of Legends.
In League, yes, they're way more strict on that stuff. But you did mention that you would leave in the good old days of Counter-Strike and the good old days of Dota 1. But I would argue that the people you play with, okay, the 9 other people in that game, that you will, their game gets fucked up because of you.
How does it get fucked up? They can still play the game.
If you poll all of them, they're going to be like, no, we don't want Erhan or Altai playing with us if he can't commit to this game. I think everyone would agree with that before the game begins. The problem was in Dota.
Why babies? Who cares? Play the game or don't play the game. Those are your options.
But here's the thing. Within Dota 1 even, communities formed around people that were more serious. There were communities in like Garena or in Play Dota All-Stars where
play in those communities.
People like you leave their games, you get permabanned from their communities.
Okay.
Like your account can no longer play Dota 1 in the special TDA games, which were, just a lobby for more serious players. But here's the difference. When games introduced their own serious lobby, because nobody liked going through this bullshit system to play serious games. You had to go download iCup for StarCraft 1. You had to go fucking find these games in StarCraft, in Counter-Strike, right? Or these leagues to play in, Cal. There was a whole Cal league that you could play by yourself and get your own rankings. These systems existed outside the official support. And the moment they come into official support and rules are enforced of like you can't leave. That's the whole point.
I don't like that. I don't like this. That's where it goes off for me.
Don't play the competitive mode. That's an easy solution possible. I think if you want to leave in quick play, in like Overwatch, for example, the game has a great system. You can leave and somebody else joins in.
You're right.
Nobody cares.
You're right.
There's no ladder.
You're right. Overwatch did a pretty good job with that. You can leave in normals, but I don't. Yeah. But I still think you can't leave in.
But you want to shut on people's experiences in ranked. That's where we differentiate. Where we disagree.
That's my fun. Like in EVE, I want to blow up.
Your fun is to ruin 9 people's fun. Nobody wants. Nobody wants to play with you.
Well, in EVE Online, I can't kill you in EVE, and then it ruins your fun if your ship gets blown up.
That's a literally in-game mechanic. Yours is literally leaving.
Leaving is also an in-game mechanic. There's equip the game button.
No, the game was not designed, or the game was designed around 5v5, 6v6, whatever the game is, right? It's designed around that experience. And I don't think you can design around, especially a ladder, around people just leaving. You know how you design around that?
They get a loss if they leave.
No, you know how you do it? You ban them. That's a design that's worked for years, and it's the policy that every game has been pushing because that's the only way to discourage it.
Oh, look, someone in chat just said he left too much in normals and it warned him.
Oh, yes, it does that today, but I think there should be, I think, would you be satisfied if, let's say you're playing Dota, you're playing League or Counter-Strike, and that there's a normal queue, there's a ranked queue, and there's the Baka, I'm going to leave lol queue. You can play the Baka, I'm going to leave lol queue with everybody else who is like-minded, right? And everyone will come and go as they please, right? But the thing is, I don't think you would have fun there. Because the only way you will be happy is if you can play with the people that don't want anybody to leave. You want to go into the ranked queues that are people that are tryharding, and there you want to leave.
Hold up.
You don't want to play within a rule set designed for you.
First of all, the rules should be up to the players to make, not the game engine. Like not the okay.
What?
So number 2, more importantly, we got to take a step back here. In the weekly rate, I mentioned in the old days it was like the Wild West. Okay. Oh, you're typing a storm. It's very loud.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So, the old days it was like a Wild West. Okay. Basically, anything, like you said, anything goes. There's no rules, and it's up to the players to create their own communities. So imagine like the Wild West, right? And you and your Care Bear buddies who don't want to leave games, you go to a corner, okay, and you have guns, and you don't let anyone else in unless they're approved. That's fine. That's cool. But it's got to be that open, sandbox.
But not every game is designed around that sandbox.
What
is the point?
You can choose when you play. You can make custom lobbies in League. Right?
So can you, and you go make a custom lobby and say, I can leave. I don't think you'll ever get in trouble for leaving custom games in League. So they already have the experience you're talking about. It's called custom games. Dota has it as well.
I should be able to queue and feed down the middle every lane anytime I want. That's my point here. Okay.
But this is so to me. This is
the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life is it's not fair to other players. It's a game. It's not fair. Don't play. Like, Imagine you go to middle school and there's one middle schooler who's like 6'5" and you're playing basketball and he just dunks every time. It's not fair to deal with it. That's life.
That's not the same. That there are rules around basketball. Being tall is not like against the rules. Okay. Whereas these games are designed around 5v5 experiences.
These games are designed to be played by people.
Yes, right? and the people that play these games, they don't want to play with people that you're describing.
Well, tough shit.
But if you want to play with them, right, go create your custom queue and play with like-minded people. They don't want to play with you.
Okay, they can leave.
No, they're going to kick you. They don't want. No, they're going to ban you or kick you. You can't tell them they can leave.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example.
Okay, give me another example.
In StarCraft 1, there were custom games, right? So Omar and I joined a custom game called Protect the Guy. Okay. Now the way the game worked was one guy was the civilian who couldn't attack. Okay. and the rest of us, like 6 other players, were heroes, like certain units, and there were waves of NPCs attacking. Okay, and the goal was to defend the civilian player from the AI enemies in waves. Omar and I joined this match, and the first thing we did when the game started, when everyone picked their hero, is we turned around and we ally attacked the civilian, and we killed him. And the game ends. Everyone loses. Then we rejoined the map. Okay, and the game started again. We did the same thing. Then they remade again. We joined again. They banned us because they saw our names. So Omar and I made new accounts on Battle.net within like a minute. Okay, we both made new accounts with new emails, and then we joined the game again before it filled, and we did it again. We killed our own player again, our own teammate.
Great times, good times.
We did this for like at least 10 times. Okay, and then these guys were just, and honestly, and this was so long ago, and I still remember vividly because it was so much fun. Okay, it was like it goes down in like my top 40 gaming fun moments.
Top 40.
Yeah.
You may gotta spell the rest out for us later.
Okay, maybe later. But see, the mentality that that you couldn't do that today, or else you're denying people the way the game is supposed to be played.
No, you could do that all day in the custom game lobby in League or Dota. Nobody's gonna give a shit. But you can't do it in the ranked queue. And we did it in StarCraft 1 on the custom map use map settings list where you had to join a game from a bullshit lobby. And it flew. That was always okay. And I think even today, nobody is going to... I don't think you will get in trouble for pulling out that bullshit in custom games today. In League or Dota. Custom games.
So for some reason, you're drawing a distinction between custom or like the games you think should be serious versus things you don't think. I bet there are people out there who take custom... But there was a certain type of custom game in StarCraft. Like it was called Diplomacy. And Lord of the Rings maps. I took them very seriously. And you always have bad players, noobs, trolls, people, leavers. You dealt with it. But I took that more seriously than I took StarCraft 1 ladder or Dota 2 ladder, okay? So just because you take one seriously and the other not seriously, it doesn't make it so. Like that guy's desire to play a legit game of protect the guy is equally valid to your desire to play a 5v5 ranked league match. Like, why are you like valuing one over the other?
No, here's the thing. Games, they create queues for this kind of stuff. They added a ranked queue for a reason. They want to differentiate the tryhards from the serious players, the more casual players. And maybe if you're correct, there should be a queue for people that want to just leave games whenever they want. I don't think if there is a demand out there, I think they should meet it. And players like you should feel safe to come and go as they please. And maybe you want to run down middle, you miss your first last, or you get first blood again, and somebody might get first blood on you. Maybe then you should just be allowed to leave. That's fine. If people want to play that game, they'll do it. But here's the thing. You only want this system when it accommodates you. You don't. Like,
no. But I want the game company. I want the game to. Here's how I should put it. I want the game to be independent of the servers and the running of the game. So think, like I said, with Counter-Strike 1.5. So Valve made the game, but anybody hosted it, right? Some maps. Some people had Nazi admins who'd ban you if you swore or whatever, right? Or team killed. And some were just free-for-all servers where anything goes, right? That was my ideal era of gaming. Now, I'm not saying it's better or worse, okay? It's what I felt, it's what I grew up with, and I feel more comfortable in that environment.
I mean, what you feel comfortable with is up to you, but where we can, I think, agree is a toxicity front in terms of just people talking shit, people, cursing, dropping racial slurs. And I think that kind of stuff, every game has some kind of built-in system for that already, and that stuff, I think we as gamers, I think we've definitely gotten very thin-skinned almost. People get offended at every quick, anything happens, people instantly get they cry about bans when they can just mute them themselves. And I think that works really well. I think a muting feature in games, whether it's MMORPGs, shooters, I think it works really well personally.
So a very common I guess comment that I hear is it's just extremely narcissistic to want to leave. I don't get this. I don't owe these 9 randos an hour of my time. If I'm not having fun playing a video game, right, or I want to watch TV or something, I don't understand why I can't just leave. Like it baffles me that people think I owe them my hour if I feel like not playing the game.
All right, we have somebody that wants to share their opinion. We'll see how that goes.
Bring him in.
Bring him in. Welcome, Hikari, to the MMOs.com podcast. And I hope you're here to tell Altai that he's wrong. I feel like he needs somebody else to tell him that, because apparently he's not listening enough to me.
Oh, yeah, they left.
We lost them. Lost them. They were here for a second.
And even in the weekly raid, guys, I don't really have a logical reason why I feel this way. It just feels like it just feels like what I grew up with has changed. You know, like we're not in the same world anymore.
Yeah, I agree. We're not in the same world. I think you made a good point when we talked about this before as well. That you know, the way games were designed back in the day, like StarCraft and Counter-Strike, these when you left a game, it was never a big commitment. You know, if somebody left the StarCraft
Hold
map,
up.
most of the time StarCraft was 1v1.
Hikarino should be banned because he left. This is the podcast channel, guys. Is the ranked Discord channel. Okay, so by joining it, okay, he should have committed to an hour-long conversation about this with us, right?
That's not the same thing because there's no 9 people he's dragging down.
There's 2.
There's
There's you and me.
Yeah, sure, but it's not the same thing. Again,
why is it not the same thing?
Listen, if you leave like a multiplayer Tetris game, there's a big the time involvement is completely different. Whether it's an Overwatch game when there's a rank system in play and games take like 20 minutes, or a game like League or Dota where games take up to 30, 40 minutes, and there's more time invested over there. Somebody just leaves in the middle of a custom StarCraft map or something. There's less friction. Friction.
No, those take hours. Some of them. Those diplomacy maps take hours. See, I think it's somehow people are like, oh, it's competitive MMR, these internet points at line. So now it's okay to but when I'm playing a custom game, I can do whatever I want. But when I'm playing what I want to play, you got to follow these rules.
No, I do think if there was an audience for competitive diplomacy, whatever weird maps you want to play, yeah, I think you should you should add stuff like that so people like you can enjoy that. Anyway, we got another person in here. Let's go get Etherville. Welcome to the MMOs.com podcast, Etherville. I hope you're here to tell Alta he's wrong.
You know what's funny? Do people have talking privileges in this channel?
Maybe that might be a problem. Who knows? No, I think that we drag him in here. They're fine.
Okay.
I'm in. Can everyone hear me properly?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. And I hope you're here to tell Alta he's wrong because he needs to hear it from more people.
All right. And based off of what I've heard so far, I would side more with Remo on his opinion on the games.
Fair enough. Any specific points?
Well, from what I think, if I were to summarize it down to its core, I believe it's kind of a basis of expectations on the community combined with what the game designers want the community to form into.
Yeah, it's up to them. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and because of that, as you mentioned, yes, you do have the right to have fun and so choose when to leave a game if you're not having fun. And in the case of EVE Online and many other MMORPGs, or let's take the example of a lot of MMO FPSs like PlanetSide 2, or even some of the Team Deathmatch servers and other FPS games, where you're free to leave and join at any time. That's where I feel it's okay because the game was, or at least the community and game designers intended you to go in and out, so it's fine. But for stuff like MOBAs, or at least for the more serious queues, there's an expectation based off of the game developers, and that fosters onto the community, that you should stay and not leave, because if you leave, there's nothing to replace the last player, so it diminishes the fun for the other players. I don't know. It's kind of like a balancing of who should be able to have more fun or not. But I understand your point, though.
I think actually Ether makes a very good point. We didn't really mention this earlier too, because I think the way games have been designed from when the era you're talking about to where we are now, I think is vastly different. There is different expectations from the game designers onto the community, and you can't apply your old beliefs, your old philosophy, and what you experience personally to the games we have today. They're just not designed the same way.
You're correct.
People leaving is a bigger deal.
They are not designed that way today. But here's the thing. The onus then on proper design, like for example, in Overwatch normals, like some you guys mentioned, if you leave, you can be replaced, right? So that's a design decision that kind of not fixes, but at least bridges this issue of leavers. So there are, I believe the onus is on developers or designers to come up with mechanisms where either they somehow promote, they reward you for not leaving rather than just banning you from their game, or they just some kind of bridging mechanism where maybe a bot takes over that does a rudimentary job. I don't know, but the onus should not be on me where I'm not having fun, but I have to stay here for an hour, grit my teeth, and I might only if you work full time, you got to sleep, you got kids, you might only have 1 or 2 games in you for like the night.
I would like to make one last point on that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that more competitive, more casual queues should do what you're saying. There should be more games where there's the onus of actually getting some new players in or relatively good bots, so that the other players aren't in a disadvantage, or at least design the game around it. Especially in the newer times, maybe in the past it was a bit fine to have less balanced teams, but at least give the ability for new players to join in already going on matches on casual mode. Sure, maybe punish players who decide to leave early on more serious competitive modes, because it's expected, or at least said, that if it's explicitly said that you're supposed to stay throughout the game, and if you leave, then it's okay, you're punished. But for more casual modes, or let's say custom modes, there should be more ability for you to go in and go out, or have some replacements. And
Right,
that's what I feel. And that's what I feel a lot of game designers nowadays, especially in MOBAs, are kind of failing at.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because you can. I think you were saying, Altai, that it's up to the developers to kind of accommodate your viewpoint, right? But what about our viewpoint? Should developers accommodate what we're talking about, where there's a queue, and very specifically in this, you could even call it the hardcore queue. It's called the ranked queue. Should they accommodate our viewpoint, where we want to play with a certain group of people that can be dedicated to a game? And even before you queue up, the game tells you that if you leave, you get banned. Like with full, like, should this be? Is this allowable in your view?
Okay. And we touched on this earlier, IRL, when we were talking. I have no problem with punishment per se, if it is an in-game mechanism. So, for example, one option was this. Imagine you leave, okay? You leave a ranked League of Legends match, okay? Like 20 minutes, 10 minutes in, whatever. I'm okay with punishing you not 10 times the MMR loss if you leave, rather than wait to surrender or lose, okay? Because you remember, you wasted 9 people's time, right? So I'm okay with an in-game punishment. But when you when you make it like a meta punishment by like removing that person from the game, especially if it's like Overwatch where they paid money, or even League if we paid for skins or whatever, like I don't think that's a fair or a proper way to design the game, where you just remove them rather than using the in-game mechanisms to punish them. So what do you say about that then? So 9 times the loss, 10 times the loss.
No, but it opens the door to abuse, where somebody might take the hit for their team. People always talk about that as an easy solution to fixing this kind of stuff, because they can always pressure one guy to take the loss. You know instead of 5 people being punished for one leaver.
What beta cuckold is gonna take 10 times MMR loss because his friends?
It allows for MMR manipulation as well, where if you're boosting accounts, you want to get one account to maybe like 100, like some crazy win ratio or something. You can even just leave the game whenever you want with that second account or something. It opens the door to abuse. And we have another guy in our general chat. Maybe he wants to chat with us as well.
Come on in.
Bring it in.
Thanks to the guy, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Etherville, for sharing your thoughts as well. Yeah. All right, incomplete. I hope you're here to once again tell Alta he's wrong. Assuming your mic works. Oh,
yeah,
good.
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up?
I think I gotta take my stand with our boy, our Lord and Savior Altair.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm an old FAG here, but I'm a true believer in, like, you have in-game mechanics to, like, stifle and like stop these, like, this toxicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I crack a few laughs at it. I don't mind it, but you got a lot more sensitive people out there in the world, and I just find, like, creating these in-game mechanics, and let the player decide gives a lot more. Gives a lot more to, like, your consumer, instead of just, like, slapping that ban hammer on him.
Exactly.
Right, what about this then? Because I do want to say I agree with you 100%. I do think people have gotten soft, with the toxicity, in terms of just cursing and insulting, whether it's any game really. Because I don't think that kind of stuff is a big deal, because you can just every game has a mechanic to stop that with the muting function. But what about this idea? I mean, this is a compromise maybe, but what if, like, you're playing League or Dota or something, and you're in a lobby, and when you join a game, it tells you how many games you've left, and maybe people can vote before the game begins if they want to play with you or not.
Yeah, that's true. StarCraft used to do that. Like, win, loss, leave, or whatever.
But again, why? I still don't understand why you can't accommodate the hardcore players in a ranked queue as well. Because you can why not give them the option? Because clearly you don't want to play with those people anyway, because you want to leave your games, right? And they don't want you to leave. So if you don't want to play with them and they don't want to play with you,
I'm not leaving every game. Like, I don't get what you're asking, honestly. Or that.
I'm asking you why you want the game designers to accommodate with in-game mechanics to allow you to leave games. That's what you're saying. You want the game to kind of have that kind of function built in.
Allow
right?
me. It's anyone can leave it. It's allowed right now. They don't like take over your computer. It's the punishment we're
punished.
talking about.
It's punished. Yeah, it's punishment.
And and like we'd rather see the punishment be a mechanic in the game rather than a meta punishment. Like you can't. It's like this. It's like this. Like you can't use internet anymore if you disagree with like what the government says.
What?
I don't I don't know what I'm saying. But like,
all right.
Just keep it in the game. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, we've been on this topic for a while, and I do want to bring more people into other topics. Maybe when we get to more related stuff and more RPG related stuff. I want to get Grizztooth in here as well. But if you have anything else to add, incomplete?
Not at the moment. Maybe
All right.
maybe a little later.
Appreciate
coming
the
here, sharing your
support.
opinions.
Sure.
All right, let me get. That's all right. All right, Grizztooth. Final word on the great MMOs.com Toxicity discussion. The score was 1-1. What do you think?
Hello. I'm actually going to side more with. Wait a second. I can't hear.
Uh-oh.
Oh wait. Yeah, I do hear. To side a little bit more with Altai than Omer, but in order to really explore this topic, you need to understand how exactly are gamers approaching their games these days.
Mm-hmm.
In these days, it's usually a lot of the games are more competitive than before. Before it was just like you join the game, leave the game, doesn't really matter. Lots of different small games here and there, but now, and there were like a lot more death matches and stuff. Nowadays, everything is basically like a MOBA with everything getting tracked all the time, and you can't really do anything without your team because it's like in a deathmatch, you could basically carry your team with little to no effort. While in MOBAs these days, you can't really carry your team as much. So we are starting to see like a whole shift in the gaming industry towards everyone being competitive, competing with each other, and the fact that trolls exist that try to throw matches on purpose shows that some people still remember when games were more about being games rather than competitions, and they're trying to show it to other people by ruining their MMR. And the trolls also need to find like competitive people to actually get the most enjoyment. Right?
Yeah, that's true. And also, I will say this though, like I don't know if games were never not competitive. Like it's like you said, everything is tracked now, right? Like every shot, every kill, your ratios are all tracked now, right? But that's not the same as saying they weren't competitive before. It's just that the competitive people kind of grouped with competitive people, and the casuals grouped with the casuals, which was cool because I remember there were servers at Counter-Strike. I never played those like ranked Cal servers, right? Maybe like if friends needed a ringer, but I didn't play them usually because I was more casual. I would just jump in, shoot some people, and leave. So the competitive hardcore people, always find a way too. It's not like these guys aren't going to have. It's not like this. If you're like queuing very like 1% in like Dota or League, you're not going to get the constant feeder, right? It'll be like 1 in 100 games or something.
Yeah, it's rare. It happens, but yeah, you remember those times. That's why it becomes especially ingrained in your memory.
All right, cool.
Anyway, we've been in discussion for a while. We should change gears a bit. There's a lot of other fun stuff we want to talk about this week. And if we get to any fun, contentious points, obviously anyone is welcome to wait in the podcast talk show lobby. Maybe just say on Twitch they want to hop in if they want to chime in with something, and then we can get you in here as well. Yep. But thanks for sharing your opinion, Grizztooth.
Thank you for voting for Team Altai.
Team Altai. One last thing before we change topics. I'm gonna drop a straw poll in here. We'll see how everyone else feels about this. I yield that I lost to the opinion of the people that joined us. It was 2-1 in terms of people that came on. And look, I don't want to appear like the guy defending the pussies or the thin-skinned people. Okay, look, all that insulting, like the PUBG lobby experience. When you play PUBG, everyone is dropping like F-bombs and the most crude, vulgar, shittiest, crappiest, like
this
most
is a very
low-tier insult.
unfair. This is a very unfair poll, but whatever. The word.
All right, look, I did have control over the poll. Yes, I did. I did name the poll.
This is like some Trump level, like fake news right here.
Hashtag fake news.
Come on. Whatever.
Oh yeah, how would you have worded it?
I don't know.
Let's hear your bullshit way.
This is very
ungenerous. You would have worded you love freedom, yes or no, right? That's how you would have worded it. And obviously, yes means leavers can stay, right? Okay. Was that what you wanted?
So for those of you listening to this tomorrow or whatever, Omar's poll says, should leavers/AFKers be banned in online MOBAs and FPSs? I thought that
was a pretty fair wording.
I don't think so. I think it's more like should we punish people for using in-game mechanics?
What? That's 10 times more misleading than what I'm talking about.
Do you love freedom? Yes, no.
Operation MMO Freedom. Altai's full name. Yes, I like it, Chaos.
All right. Let's move on, boys.
All right, we should change topics. We've been on this one for a bit, but it was a very heated discussion. But again, oddly, I think it is remarkable that we don't see this problem anymore. I mean, people are still dicks on online games, but like I've never been like frustrated at people in MMORPGs because another good point I wanted to make actually. In Final Fantasy 14, for example, when you're running Savage runs or just doing content, right, more difficult content, typically there's a built-in group finder in the game where you can join pickup groups, right? And very often within the first, very quickly when you start a Savage run, when you're fighting a boss, if your group will clear it or not, right? And it's almost like an unwritten rule. It's kind of like everyone kind of expects after like 2 or 3 runs and you don't see a clear avenue of defeating the boss, you just all leave, right? It works fine because there's no big commitment. There's no, after 3 runs, 2 runs, it doesn't look good, you leave. And it works really well in MMORPGs in that regards. So, that's like the perfect... It was never really a big issue in MMOs. And yes, you can design these games around this. There's a time commitment involved.
I love this, mental gymnastics you're doing where the thing I take seriously, like League, there people shouldn't leave. But in a group finder dungeon, if someone leaves, that's fine. I love this mentality.
Here's the thing. If they leave, if somebody intentionally joins a group, and let's say again, it's a little different than FF14 because it's only like 10 minutes for a boss fight, right? What? Whereas maybe in WoW, you had to go through all of Molten Core and it would take like 10 hours, right? And then right at the last boss, maybe they just troll and all leave at once or something. It's different. If after a few attempts, it's almost like every round is an attempt, you can leave. You're allowed to leave at the end of the round. When you lost the fight, you can leave. That seems pretty fair to me.
Okay. All right. If you think that's
there's no ladder points there either.
What is ladder points?
They're internet points. Of course, they're internet points.
Ultimately, the only resource we have as humans, okay, is time. Ultimately, whether you're a billionaire or a gamer, it's all a translation of time. So don't give me this ladder. Like my internet points make it so you have to play the game, but some other game you can leave. I don't get that mentality. You're either wasting people's time, but at least I can respect your consistency. If your point is you're wasting other people's time, so you shouldn't do that. But that's not what you're saying because you don't mind people leaving a dungeon in WoW.
All right. Let's take this elsewhere. I'm seeing this. There's these weird ass ads on MMOs.com, and they trigger me a lot. Okay, what do you think about this ad? It's an ad for Second Life. All right. Why is it showing me this? It's such a weird ad.
1 second. I unfortunately have my default browser as Opera, guys, but I'm capturing my Chrome screen. So just give me a momento. Here we go.
I like what the banner looks like. It looks really weird. Like the Second Life banners I've been seeing on MMOs.com lately have been really weird.
I'm actually surprised Second Life is still advertising. That's the number 1 surprise here. Number 2 is this is really creepy. Is this it looks like a 6-year-old with a baby 1-year-old or a 0-year-old.
It's so weird. And for the longest time over the last week, as I browse the website, I see these Second Life ads, and it's I've been seeing these weird ads. It's your world, your imagination, and there's this pregnant girl and this guy kissing the pregnant girl's stomach or something. Who is dreaming of having fake kids in Second Life? I get it, you want to bang the girl on the internet, which is probably a dude, but I don't get the baby part. Why is that into the equation?
Actually,
seems like the not fun part.
There's a popular fetish in Second Life. People roleplay as babies. So you'll have a baby avatar moving around, and then they'll use voice chat, and it's a 40-year-old guy's voice, hey, and it just looks funny because it's a baby walking around.
Well, All right, interesting fetish. I don't know. I did play Second Life. There's a lot of weird shit in there, but I just keep seeing these really weird ads on MMOs.com. So I wanted to bring that up.
Well, the algorithm knows what you like.
I guess so, because it keeps saying, you know, these ads are supposed to be pretty targeted towards us. So pretty weird.
I'm not seeing these ads.
All right. I mean, I think we should talk a little bit about Pearl Abyss and Black Desert, because you actually wrote a pretty lengthy article today, which I thought was pretty interesting, about Pearl Abyss and Black Desert and how MMOs done right, MMO development done right.
Sure.
So maybe you want to take it away?
Sure. So yeah, I was inspired to write this piece when I read some Pearl Abyss financial information. Pearl Abyss is a Korean company behind Black Desert, and they're going public. Well, they are public now. They're a publicly traded company. And when you go public, or before you go public, you have to reveal information that you could have in the past kept private. And so I read through that, and some really, really interesting stats came out. One, most shocking for me, was the development budget for Black Desert Online. Black Desert Online, guys, cost $1 million to make. 1 mil. That's
That's
shocker.
phenomenal. That is amazing.
I mean, just look at some of the price tags and like the Kickstarted fundraising we see for MMOs these days. I mean, we're talking tens, if not hundreds of millions. And Black Desert's no like 2D indie block collector. You know, this is a full-fledged, you know, MMORPG, beautiful 3D graphics, like one top notch, action combat, one open world, no loading screens. You know, guild wars, battle. Oh, it's a full Monty, baby, and it cost $1 million to make.
That's remarkable. We've seen games. We've seen like just the Kickstarter games alone. I mean, you look at stuff like Astral Creation, where they raised a couple $1 million, I think, and Mr. Shuri said it's going to cost about $30 million to make a viable build of the game, whereas you know, even Star Citizen, they raised over $100 million, $140 million now. So, and they're still not done with their game. And you can build the engine. And we should clarify, they say the engine of Black Desert, I believe, for a cost of $1 million, which again is still astounding. Just to give you some context on the size of Pearl Abyss, they did about $300 million in revenue as well, according to the article, and they're worth about 150 million or so as a company. So it's still a pretty small company in relation to like Nexon and NCSoft, the big Korean juggernauts. But I think it's just remarkable they were able to build the Black Desert engine, which the game is beautiful, right? And it looks beautiful as well. There's a lot of little details which just shine really well. And it works because it is a custom engine. I think, you know, we've seen a lot of games being built on Unity and Unreal. And basically all the indie companies are basically using off-the-shelf engines. And I don't know, I feel like if you want to do something really like smooth, like to get that buttery smooth feeling, I feel like you do need a custom engine. Because I think when we played Phantasy Star Online 2 even, like, do you remember, like, that game ran really fucking smoothly?
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons for that is Sega made their own engine for it. And when games do that, it does show sometimes, you know, the game is more serious. It's not just slapped together on Unity or you know.
Well, here's what it
Unreal
shows.
3.
Here's what it shows to me, and it's another important stat that I read. So the CEO said 87% of the staff at Pearl Abyss are developers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is amazing to me, because so often when I read these Kickstarter MMOs, like they say, okay, we're gonna hire a developer later. Like we got the art team, the creative director, the lead, the production lead. They have all these other employees. And then like hiring the actual developer is like later, like step 2, you know. Whereas at Pearl Abyss, step 1, step 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 is all, you know, developers.
Oh, that's a good point, though. I think, you know, there's a lot of, if you need developers as well, and the point you being a secondary objective too. I remember after Astral Creation raised a lot of money, they released, was Astral Creation or Chronicles of Lyria, right? After their Kickstarter campaign, they announced they hired like a lead programmer. How do you hire a lead programmer after you've already raised millions of dollars promising this amazing game? Like, do you not have a lead programmer working for you? Like, what was everything else you showed us? Like, clearly there was no plan to get this game together, because like you didn't have a goddamn lead programmer. So it's insane that happened. Like, nobody seemed to give a shit. Like, it was like a normal thing. But you had the chief visionary, the marketing people, the character designers, all these designers. But ultimately, you got to create something, some minimum viable product, and having having the developers on board, and you can multitask a little bit too. Obviously, you know, get the developers can design stuff as well, especially when you're running on a shoestring budget. You know, you don't need to have all these different creative departments. Just get something done, get a game out there. And I guess they did it on a remarkably low cost budget of $1 million, which obviously doesn't seem like a low cost budget to us.
And people in chat are having a hard time believing the numbers, but I did mention other games that had a low budget in the history of MMOs. I know it's been a while, guys, but even if you adjust for inflation and all that, let me find some numbers for you boys here. So we got EverQuest, EverQuest 1, which came out I believe in 1999 or 2000, I believe.
Yeah, around I think 99 actually.
Okay, it cost 2.5 million to make. Okay,
that's actually that's mind blowing. The EverQuest, like the first big immersive 3D MMORPG experience, only cost like $3 million to make. And obviously, you can adjust that for inflation again, but it's not gonna be that much higher.
It's like 4 or 5, yeah, double tops, you know.
At most, double, yeah.
Dark Age of Camelot, which came out in 2001, it cost 2.5 million with 25 people and 18 months. So
that's remarkable.
This bullshit that like, oh guys, an MMORPG needs 8 years to make, you know, Star Citizen's happening. Bullshit. Okay, if you had a team of developers who knew what they're doing, you can make a game in 1 or 2 years. Like, PUBG was made in a year, you know, probably less than a year of development time.
Actually, I think what people kind of lose out on as well, if, you know, the biggest expense for these games is obviously the talent to make the developers and the workers, right? If you look at that statistic for Dark Age of Camelot being released in 2001 with a team of 25 developers, it cost them 18 months and $2.5 million back in 2001. So we can kind of calculate today how much it would cost 25 developers. Like, what is their time worth? 25 developers. Let's assume 100K each, right? If you're a decent developer, you make about 100K. You can make a lot more if you work at Facebook and you're a god tier developer. But let's say $100,000 a year, which I think is probably below average for I guess computer programmer or developer.
Really? Maybe in Silicon Valley. I don't know about the US.
In Silicon Valley, it's below average for sure.
Yeah, but whatever.
Nationwide, I don't think the average is 100K for developer. But yeah, we can look that up later. But at 25 people at $100,000 a year, that's $2.5 million a year today. You know, back then the salaries were lower, and you obviously adjust for inflation backwards. But you know, it is conceivable to hire a team of 25 people, pay them $100,000 a year each, and they could create something in a year or 2 years maybe. So it's still weird to see that, you know, games can get so out of hand in development costs. You know, you have so many artists, the marketing, they spend lots of money in marketing as well, obviously. But the development costs themselves get crazy out of hand. Elder Scrolls Online, I think you said cost, you know, about 200. That and Star Wars: Old Republic cost like nearly $200 million to develop. That is insane. They can make that costs more than World of Warcraft, Dark Age of Camelot, EverQuest 1 combined times like 5. Just one of those games. And arguably they're all WoW clones anyway.
At least those guys came out. I also listed in this article.
Yeah.
Games like Warhammer Online, Tabula Rasa, which came out but lasted a very short time before they got shut down. And these games also cost $100 million. 2 other examples are Project Titan by Blizzard, and there was a Halo MMO. And both of these projects, you know, ate at least $100 million each and then sank. So these are, it's a lot of money that went down the MMORPG drain. And I think it's why we're seeing a lot of Western studios that are reluctant to make games in this genre today. But like I said, guys, Black Desert Online, for all its faults, you know, people are mentioning, you know, some pay-to-win problems, etc. There are a lot of gameplay faults, but what I'm talking about in this article is like the technical business management side of it. And Pearl Abyss is a beautiful example of this. They also list the fact that they have a full in-house sound studio in their office, so they can make their own sound. They have their own motion capture studio in the office, so they can do that themselves. Whereas, in Star Citizen, you guys remember that like cutscene where they hire the guy from Star Wars to like voice one of the characters?
Why? That's such a waste of money.
I mean, that probably cost. I bet that like one cinematic where I think it was Mark Hamill or something.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah, Star Citizen paid Mark Hamill to do the voice of a character, right? I bet that like that alone cost more than the whole Black Desert Online project. You know, from start to finish.
A bit of an exaggeration because obviously
really?
I don't think voice actors get paid $1 million to drop like.
Maybe.
To do a video for like 2 minutes.
I mean, if they do, if they're in Star Wars, I don't know.
Maybe like if Morgan Freeman was voicing like a character in a Disney Pixar movie, yeah, he's getting paid many millions for that, right? But like Mark Hamill, like what has he done for us recently? I don't know. Is he still like
he's the Last
recent
Jedi.
movies?
He's the Last Jedi, bro. He turned around.
Yeah, but beyond that, has he done like anything else? Like I don't know much about actors, but I feel like I haven't seen him since like the OG Star Wars movies. Obviously, yes, the production of that cinematic as well, you know, that whole process, obviously, I think costs a lot of money. It could conceivably have cost like a couple $100,000, perhaps a lot more, actually. But not just paying him. I think the whole production of that cinematic could have costed quite a bit. They hired a whole, like, AAA staff for like voice lines and actors and stuff to do their Squadron 40, 42, 40, whatever squadron we're on, 45. What's it called? 42, 41?
Squadron 42.
All right, it's one of those
sounds
numbers.
right.
There you go.
So, let's see. Let's go through some more numbers. So, I think Black Desert Online, guys, for all defaults, is still a great game. It's going to come out in China this year. Hopefully, they have 200,000 pre-orders, which is kind of surprising for China, guys. Usually Chinese people either pirate everything or everything's free to play.
Yeah,
but they are going to stick with their pre-purchase model there, which is serving them well, actually. They're getting a few bucks up front, and obviously you have to pay a lot more when you get to endgame because you need those pets and such.
$5 the entry fee, but yeah, you do end up spending a lot more if you take the game seriously, for sure. Isn't PO just a mindless grinder? I mean, because there is no late game PvE. The late game is PvP. In order to prepare for PvP, there is a lot of grind for sure. But I mean, every MMO in some ways is its own grind for sure. And
guys, don't forget, it's a sandbox style game. So the main objective is not to fight the monsters endlessly. It's to make a guild.
But you do. What are you doing 99% of the time?
Okay.
You're fighting monsters endlessly.
But you do that in every game. You fight monsters.
Yeah, but at least in other games they do kind of like throw the PvE curveball at you with like dungeons and stuff.
But
you do have more.
There's caves. There's caves to explore in this.
There's caves. We got caves.
Okay, it's a separate issue, but I don't think endgame equals instance raids.
I agree. It doesn't have to. It shouldn't be just that though. Yeah. I think you're right. There is too much emphasis pointed on that. I think if anything, BDO's success also kind of shows us that you don't necessarily need that either. Ideally, you can have a game like Black Desert along with the really endgame cool rating of other like MMORPGs, which is WoW or FF14. I mean, have both. I think that would be. I think that's the ideal solution. You can get the PvP players interested in that, get the PvP players interested in this, and maybe have some like late game crafting as well or something.
I'm okay with late game PvE, but I think ideally I wouldn't have instance dungeons or anything. It'd be open world EverQuest style. Like you could still have world bosses and dungeons, but it would have to be open. So like no instance nonsense.
I mean, ideally, I'm a big fan of open world as well. I like Chaos Shield's comment quite a bit. Caves, PvE, endgame, secure. That's all you need, guys. Put a cave in there. Don't you know Conan Exiles has late game, endgame PvP? He's got caves. But then again, in Conan Exiles Defense is a survival game. It does have like kind of like boss enemies. So there's some endgame PvP there as well.
Oh boy.
Speaking of games that have to be bought, I don't know how I'm gonna relate this. Battleborn. There's Battleborn is unfortunately is pretty much donezo. I feel like we've kind of seen this coming for a long time, and we did make a bet on when we thought the game was shut down. Should we count this as a shutdown date because they won't be doing any more updates for Battleborn starting after the next update, which is set to launch this fall. So the next update for Battleborn, if you're listening, is the last update. And it should really come as no surprise at this point. Nobody plays Battleborn. And by nobody, I mean there's like 70 players online, which is, again, almost nobody for a game that was up until recently.
Isn't that more than Lawbreakers?
Yeah, actually, I think it is, actually. Which is actually another game that, look, I do feel like there's this, like, I know when Lawbreakers was first on the scene, right? And the moment I played the alpha, I said I didn't like it. Like, and even before the game came out, too, I'm like, this game is going to fucking flop. And I was talking about the podcast as well. And I feel like it's doing so poorly. But like I feel like not enough people called it out. When I feel like deep down we all know right away if a game's going to suck dick. But I feel like we don't always say it because we feel like, oh, they can fix it. No, they can't fix it. The game is fucking shit. All right. I played Lawbreakers the moment it came out, and I just didn't have any fun at all. And I like arena shooters. I like what they were trying to do. The concept was cool, but the game just wasn't fun. It's that simple. You got to, at a certain point, you got to reboot. All right. I don't know. I feel like anybody.
Okay, here's what I think. Go ahead. And I think you didn't agree with this. When I played Battleborn and Lawbreakers, right? The first thing I thought was this is Overwatch but worse. Like you can't. They were basically just Overwatch clones. Like you can't make it that similar and then say, "Whoa, we have this one different thing," so it's not competing. It was obviously competing with Overwatch, both games.
Yeah, I would say Lawbreakers for sure, at least, because even though they call themselves more of a traditional old school like Quake style experience, no, you have the fucking heroes. You have multiple heroes. They have like 2 abilities each. Yeah, it's Overwatch to a degree. I can see that. A little bit different with Battleborn Battleborn because it did play like a MOBA. There was some.
It was
there's
same game.
same game. The colorful, cartoony. They got heroes. Clearly, same game, right?
Same game. I actually have a funny quote for you by the Mr.
Battleborn.
Mr. Battleborn. All right, here we go. I think I wrote it down. Okay, so the boss at I think it's called Gearbox or something. The guys who made Battleborn. He said that Overwatch had no bearing, okay, on the game's fortunes. Do you believe that?
No, not one iota. I feel like he's just kind of being delusional when he says that.
He said zero impact. That was his words. Zero impact on Battleborn.
I mean, maybe like in terms of design decisions, yeah, I believe him on that front. But I think it impacted the game as well, the success of the game when you have a alternative. Which again, there's still different style games. But when you look at Battleborn, you see a trailer for Battleborn. You see like it's a shooter. You know, you aim and you shoot with MOBA mechanics. It's a MOBA shooter with colorful, cartoony characters. So yes, they kind of overlapped as well. So obviously, it took away a lot of those players.
Okay, here's what he was trying to say with that. He's saying no, Battleborn actually did really well. This guy actually thought Battleborn did well. He said,
"Who is this guy? The guy who made the producer or something?"
He is Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford.
Okay.
So he said if it wasn't for Overwatch, everyone would consider Battleborn a success because it sold like X number of copies, right? And like for a new franchise, that's good. So Overwatch has sold so many more that it overshadowed it. But if what he says is true, then why did they go to maintenance mode like a week after this?
That's pretty. The timing of that's pretty hilarious. So you're saying he said that like recently, like within the last few weeks, that he's saying that Battleborn is a success.
Yes.
Right. And then literally weeks after, the game goes on maintenance mode where they will get no more updates ever.
Let me read the quote for you. Quote: If Overwatch did not exist and it had the exact same results, people would say Battleborn was a winner. It's a new IP and it's successful. It would have been seen in a totally different light, even if it hadn't sold a unit more.
He's delusional.
I mean,
I don't know. You gotta cut your losses at one point. You gotta admit that. Look, you tried, it didn't work. You move on. You're a business, right? You have losses. You have. I mean, the game. Who knows if it made money or not? But I don't. The game has got 45 players on right now, and it's been out for like what, like a year and a half, maybe less than that. Yeah. And most of that time with nobody playing. And within like the first like few months of release, the player base died.
Within 4 days of saying this, they put the game on maintenance mode. If he believes what he's saying, he's insane. He's just like mentally not there. Like I don't know what else to say.
Somebody, Lifespoon said, "This is fine." It reminds me of like that comic where he said everything. There's that dog in the burning house, and said, "This is fine. Everything is fine as it's burning down."
I really don't get why he would say this. It makes him look so dumb because 4 days. And even if he's like a PR guy for the company, I mean, don't they want to get their ducks in order? Like how could they make him say this and then basically put the game in maintenance mode 4 days later? Like it makes him look retarded forever.
Yeah, definitely. It's rest in pepperoni, Battleborn. No surprise there again. These are both games, Battleborn and Battleborn's a game we've been predicting shutdown for a long time. I think WildStar is the one that's kind of eluded us, and they've been launching updates left and right still. So the game that one is still going strong actually. Yeah. Not strong, but it's going.
It's going. It's the Energizer Bunny.
What do you think about Lawbreakers now too? Because like I feel like Nexon is kind of doubling down on Lawbreakers. They released this like Q4 2017 roadmap. They want to add like a ranked league. They talked about a few new maps they want to add. They're really talking about all the features they want to add to the game, what they want to do. What do you think? Does Lawbreakers have a chance, or is it going to go free to play, or doesn't matter? It's still going to die.
Well, it has a chance because it's going to go free to play. So not like I think Nexon realizes that they have to go free to play, and now they're just kind of figuring out when and how and what features to add with that update.
Maybe they want to have a more complete experience before they go free to play, because it does seem kind of odd that the boss league, which is their ranked mode, isn't out at the beginning. I feel like ranked, especially when you're building your game as this competitive arena shooter, like this hardcore experience. I don't think it'd be a hardcore experience without having that ranked system built in already. But I think they're going to add all that stuff and then go free to play. And anyone who bought the game will have like access to all the heroes or something, right? And then they'll find out, maybe they give everybody like a new badge, a new skin, something to kind of give them something. But it has to go free to play. The player base there's 100 or so players online at peak hours for a newly launched game. It's a disaster. With so few players, it really unfortunately feeds on itself as well, because when you have a small player base in any queue-based game where it's a shooter or mobile or anything, people are queuing up to play and there's nobody in their skill range. They start playing against people that are really good, because who's playing Lawbreakers right now? The hardcore fans. and they're really good at the game. So if you bought the game just today and you want to play, you're playing against really good players because they're the only ones still playing it. All the other casuals left. So it's a disaster. It's going to be rough.
I want to quickly go back to Battleborn. Chat just mentioned that why are we ignoring the 3 to 4 million copies sold? And that's true. It did sell a lot of copies. But I think the fact that they maintenance moded so quickly, it shows that like the retention and player interest was exceedingly low. Like this dropped off so quickly. Like, so I think they did get a lot of money up front. They might have even recouped their investment money because they sold so many boxes initially. But everyone dropped off. Like nobody stuck with this game.
I'm trying to find estimates on that too. It says, I mean, we don't know the development costs either. If it's, I mean, how they measure success. If they sell 3-4 million units, it's definitely not bad.
Yeah, that's a lot of copies.
Yeah, I wish we can look up like if they were publicly traded, we can see like maybe their expenses or something. But right now we have no idea what it costs to make the game, and so we really can't gauge if it's a financial success or not. But I mean, to say that the game is a success, and to shut it down weeks later, just seems delusional. That's the thing. You'd have to go out of your way and say the game's a success, right? And then shut it down like within like a week. Just don't say anything at that point. That's the part that I don't understand.
All right. Well, I want to give you an opportunity for you to gush about your recent favorite game now. As you know, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds reached a very interesting landmark this week. I'll let you do the honors.
All right. Yeah. I'll take that as well. Actually, I would say my recent favorite game is actually Final Fantasy 14. I've been playing that quite a bit more than PUBG. I played a lot of PUBG when the game first launched, and probably for the first like 3-4 weeks afterwards. Nowadays, I play PUBG like once in a while, whereas I try to play Final Fantasy 14 every night, and I try to get a little bit of progress made in 14. I've been loving Final Fantasy 14. That's my recent favorite game. But with PUBG, the game made a pretty remarkable milestone this last week. It is now the most played Steam game of all time. Previously, it was regularly beating Dota and CSGO, but it didn't have the all-time peak numbers because Dota was sitting at about 1.29 million concurrent users and hit that number a couple years ago, I think. And for the first time ever in the last week, PUBG set a new Steam record for the most concurrent users. And that was it's probably still going up every single day, actually. So that number was at over 1.3 million. It's at 1.348 million peak concurrent players. I think it was also the first game to have like 5-6 days of consecutive, players over 1 million as well. So it's shattering new records still. I think the game is a lot of fun. They're adding a ton of new content and new maps and stuff. And it's so weird that, nobody released this massive. It's so weird to see Battle Royale as a genre take off when it did. I feel like we all kind of experienced this meteoric rise in the last like 6-7 months of just how popular this genre became. I feel like somebody should, with all the Counter-Strike clones, the WoW clones, how much knockoffs we've seen in gaming. Like, why didn't somebody just copy the Battle Royale mod? I mean, well,
I would argue that.
Why did we else do this?
I would argue that it's because it happened so fast. I think a lot of people, at least me, I was overestimating how long this genre was around. And until I read this tweet by Mr. PlayerUnknowns. So 4 years ago today, and this was September 17th. So 4 years ago from recently, I set up this Twitter account to promote my first mod, DayZ Battle Royale. Thank you for continuing to support. So this is a very new genre, and this guy, Mr. PlayerUnknown, has basically created it and wrote it. Like he is the almost exclusive architect of this because he's the guy who designed H1Z1 King of the Kill, the original Arma mod, and now this. So this guy is really rocking this. He is this genre.
Okay. What I'm concerned, I mean, yeah, he is the genre and it took off, but I'm surprised nobody else did this as a concept, right? Mm-hmm. This Battle Royale concept, because Battle Royale, the movie, the Japanese movie where the kids on the island, like that as a concept existed for such a long time. And from like a really high up perspective, it just seems like a pretty fun concept, right? I mean, it didn't like even Last Man Standing, that Sergei Titov like bullshit free to play version of like Battle Royale, which is it's really really shitty in its own way. It gets thousands of players. Like it's weird that what surprised me was that nobody else did it before PUBG. With like FPS games are big, massive games tend to be pretty fun. Like these are not new ideas, right? And somebody just the guy Brendan Green took these two concepts and put like 100 people on an island and get them to kill each other. Like this, when I thought like a new kind of game would get popular, I didn't think it would just be another variant of FPS. You know, this is it's surprising to me how this happened.
Well,
it just doesn't seem like it was such a it didn't seem like such a hidden idea, like something that nobody could have thought of.
Look, good ideas always seem like that in hindsight. Okay. So,
yeah, I guess so.
I have a fun example for you guys. You know that I'm not sure about the exact. I won't say because I'm not sure about the exact dates. But when they initially made luggage, like airplane luggage, right? It didn't have wheels. So people used to carry those suitcases, the heavy ones, the big ones that you currently check. So then somebody thought of putting wheels on them, and that was it's such an obvious idea, right? But for years and years and years, people would lug those things around, by lifting them. So the good ideas seem obvious after the fact. So this is just one of them. But Omar, you're in luck. I know you missed out. A lot of them didn't get made, but now everyone is jumping on the bandwagon. And I think the Battleground style game is going to be the new MOBA and the new hero shooter. Okay, people failed with Battleborn, they failed with Lawbreakers, but now they're going to try again with their own version of Battle Royale.
Yeah, I think Battle Royale could easily be the next MOBA, and it's gonna. I think PUBG is gonna be big, and it's gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. We're talking. I don't think it's gonna pass league levels, but it's already it passed Dota 2 in players, which is huge. Mm-hmm. So I think it's gonna be the next biggest thing after league. Though I think it has potential to maybe pass league, but if it does, it would still take like 5, 6, 7, 8 years of continual development. But it's truly remarkable how big it became. It's nuts.
And yeah, people mentioned it, but Fortnite has their own Battle Royale version now. They kind of slapped it on there. And even GTA Online, GTA 5 Online, slapped together some kind of survival Battle Royale car mode. So there is a big bandwagon trend building for this one.
Yeah, let's get Privateer Casual in here. I think he wants to say something about Battle Royale.
All right, let's hear it.
What's up, Gas?
What's up?
Any thoughts on Battle Royale and how it became so big? Not necessarily how it became. Why did it take Brandon Green to do this? It seems like as a concept, Battle Royale seemed like such an obvious idea in hindsight.
Well, I think Erhan hit it right on the head. It's just something that was a mod like everything else, and it was just something that one guy decided, hey, this kind of works and it's cool, and it was just a good idea that no one else had at the time.
But it's not that nobody had the idea. The movie was out for how many years? Battle Royale.
Oh yeah, but like translating that to a game, like how many other movies do you think would be a good game?
Okay, but remember, if you've seen Battle Royale, you can kind of look at them and be like, okay, we have FPS games already. It seems kind of intuitive. Like
Well, I mean, look at Dead by Daylight, for example. Like, how many horror slasher games are there where like you play the slasher, right?
True.
Slasher movies have been around for how long? But how many games are there like that?
That's a good point too.
Till Dead by Daylight came out like a year or two ago or whatever, right?
That's pretty remarkable too.
And now you've got like Friday the 13th and other games coming soon. I think capitalizing on it. Like it's just a good idea that no one did until recently, right?
I think the takeaway here is that we have to find inspiration from video games in old movies. All right, we have to find ideas that have been unused in old movies and translate it into video games. We got again Dead by Daylight, massive success. PUBG, massive success. Had to bust out the treasure trove of old VHS and find some goodies.
Titanic.
Titanic. I mean, they already have Titanic games.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but from an actual gameplay perspective and stuff, it's easy to see why PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has success. Like DayZ like was the founding basis for the Battlegrounds. Like people found like they liked having this big area to go into, and then it's tighter and tighter. It keeps the action up, but it keeps the looting element, the randomness, the like tensity and feeling of luck that always happen in DayZ, right? You never know what you're gonna find. But the thing is DayZ drags on for hours. You're talking about a game where people will camp watching a door of a barracks for 3 hours because they want to get the shot on someone that's going to go in that door to loot it, right? That's something. Dedication. It's massive dedication, but it's also something that a lot of people don't like.
So
fair.
it got
streamlined the experience quite a bit.
It carved out the nugget of that.
Yeah, it carved out the juicy nugget. But the thing is like Arma is very iffy. Like it's just not a good basis to play a shooter on. It's a military simulator, and there's a lot of stuff that's simulated, and it doesn't work. It's just like things happen that shouldn't happen in the game. It just removes a lot of the fun from it. So like as you're playing the Arma mod, it's like, man, this thing that happened felt totally bullshit, right? And then H1Z1 comes around, and it's like, okay, well, let's put it in this. But H1Z1 is just, it took away the hardcore element that carried over from DayZ, which was a very hardcore game. Mm-hmm. It kind of took that out and just made it like, okay, we're gonna parachute arcade. In a million miles an hour. We're gonna run around, and we're gonna third person around shooting things, and fly out of a car that's moving at a million miles an hour and shotgun someone and one shot kill them, and then get back in our car and drive around in circles again. And it was fun for some people, but that hardcore element was gone. And PUBG kind of brought it back. And it keeps that hardcore appeal, but it also has the pacing that DayZ lacked, and why a lot of people left DayZ, because at the time, that hardcore element was incredibly appealing, like that thrill, that rush you get, which you can get in PUBG when you're like down to the last man. Yep.
Always.
That rush is the original rush that people got in DayZ, but without the hour-long waits, hours and hours of waiting for that rush to happen.
I like to draw a parallel between what happened with Battlegrounds and DayZ style games, and between MMORPG combat and like MOBAs. So like the nugget of like this kind of combat where you control a single character with multiple abilities in this fantasy setting, that like I feel like that the desire for that came from like WoW PvP and stuff, right? But then like Dota and League kind of just stole that part of it and made their own genre out of it. And I feel like the same thing happened here with these Battleground games. They kind of just stole the fun part, the quick part of these
DayZ, and where it took a lot longer. It was a much more streamlined experience. True. They perfected that formula. And I mean, that's why, one of the reasons I think, MMOs have been a bit of a decline here in the West might be because of the rise of MOBAs for that reason.
Indeed.
Anyway, I do want to take us to Lost Ark before we call it over here, because I feel like we can always end with Lost Ark. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on PUBG, Chaos.
Later.
Peace. All right.
We got Lost Ark showing off a new 8-minute. What is with the 8-minute trailers and Lost Ark? I feel like they're always like their first reveal was like a 20-minute trailer, and now they released an 8-minute trailer showing off the game. And it's just obviously it's to build some hype. They had their close beta began on the 15th of September, so I think it's already been running. I'm not sure when it ends. I don't have a closed beta account for the game, unfortunately, so I can't play it. But I think there's been a lot more gameplay videos out there. I kind of wish I was able to do one, but alas, I have to wait like a peasant until I can get the public beta here. But yeah, Lost Ark did their closed beta this last week, and they released an 8-minute hype trailer. Maybe you can show something off in the background.
Yep.
Beyond that, there's really not too much, happening. All we know is they did the closed beta.
This is probably the most hyped MMORPG from the West right now.
Yes.
Like
100%. Yeah. Everyone is in love with this game.
They
want to play it.
And
yeah, it's nuts.
Do you think, like, when I first saw that first trailer that we showed off on the podcast, it was over a year ago now, wasn't it? It felt like forever.
It's been a long time. It's been forever.
Do you think it's gonna lose some steam if it comes out, like, let's say it's not coming out till next year, obviously, at least at the earliest, right? 2018.
You have to go for 2018.
I don't know.
Yes, 100%.
It's too long. It's too long.
It has to. It's been too long. But I mean, it shows you that the craving is there still. And I think MMORPGs are still a magical genre where we're still kind of always searching for that next high that we got from our first MMORPG. And I think for that reason, everyone's gonna give it a try. Everyone, even like the most shitty games, like that launch on Steam, some of the really old shitty MMOs, people just like everyone wants to try it because they're hoping to get that high. And maybe Lost Ark will give them that high, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm gonna try it. I want to try. I'm looking forward to trying it.
I think Moo Legend, if they beat them, which they will probably, even with the delay.
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
think it's gonna steal some thunder, a lot of thunder.
Moo Legend's coming out this year, like in like in a couple of months, November, I think.
Well, they said November, but the last time they said, September. So
yeah, they pushed it back 3 months. So who knows?
If we actually get it before the end of the year, I'll be surprised. I think it's gonna be like January.
Yeah. True. I'm still hyped for this one.
You know what I was hyped about for this? And I hope they show some gameplay. I'm gonna skip around. I was hyped for a lot of the not standard action RPG stuff, like the
boats.
The boats, exactly. So
yes.
Okay. So they do have the boats in this trailer. Yeah, this to me this looks really cool. So you're sailing around this world. You can dock in different places, and then once you dock, you get off the boat. This looks really cool to me. This makes it different, okay? Because games like Diablo, you never really get a sense of the world, okay? Like you can see the map, the 2D map, like when you click M or whatever, but you don't have a sense of, I don't know, like the size of the world. You don't have of your place in the world. But when I see this, it gives a lot more context to it.
And we haven't seen very few MMOs have like boats in them. Period. Like Black Desert has them. There's that. What was that really old like anime game on Steam? It's got boat gameplay and land gameplay. Florencia has it as well. Very few MMOs give you that scale. Yeah. So it's mega awesome that we're gonna have it here in Lost Ark, and it just shows at least the game will be somewhat different at least. But we have to wait quite a bit, unfortunately.
Look at these beautiful dolphins circling the ship. Oof.
I know, so majestic, right? So majestic.
And this has this combat too, the boat combat too. It's not just for transport. So looking good. But
unfortunately, it's gonna be a while.
It's one of those cases. Oh, this is cute. They're like in a giant. They're like a giant bookshelf area. That's pretty cool. But it's one of those cases where how long can you keep this hype going? Like, I was so much more hyped for this game when I saw that initial trailer, and it's just falling off from here.
Lost Ark is still one of the highest rated games on MMOs.com, despite not even being out yet.
Yes.
People can leave review 5-star ratings on the games on MMOs.com for our previews as well. And everyone's giving. I think it's the only game on that list that's not really out yet. So it's pretty funny that everyone is leaving it really, really great ratings.
Oh, look at this beautiful scene, guys. We got an arena. But yeah, I do like the fact that they're going full MMORPG style with this and not just the standard action RPG, like narrow focus on just, kill monsters, right-click monsters, and that's it.
Oh, I agree, definitely. All right. Anything else?
No, that's about it. We're in Turkey, guys, for a few more weeks, and then we'll see what happens after that. But the stream didn't have much problems this time, so I hope you guys had a good time listening and chiming in. And if you do want to chime in, do watch us live, twitch.tv/MMOsDOTCOM, 4 p.m. Western time.
PSD time. Western time, all the same. But yeah, we'll see you guys, rest of you guys in the after show for a bit. Thanks for watching, guys.
Take it easy.